bring him down, kick him. He's slick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what he's going to try and do is get back behind there. You understand?
Welcome to Road to Raising 2. It's going to be a segment of videos that's going to tell you my life story and where I came from. I'm going to start first with my background. Before I get into it, I'm Humbled Up. It's Humbled Up Television. And like, share, subscribe. So, starting from the beginning, I was born and raised in Homewood, which is a small town in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As a youngin', at about 3 years old, my parents got divorced. So I never really had a childhood with my dad. My dad was from the Hill District. He was a knucklehead from what he told me. In and out of jail. Became a Muslim in jail when he got older, but I'll get to that later. My mom, she is a great woman. She could talk to anybody on any level of life, the rich, the poor, whatever, intelligent, intellectuals, whatever. And she was an outstanding speaker. She taught me how to stay articulate, how to have good speech. During the summertime, she was always giving us math problems and making us read and giving us multiple questions, with multiple answers or whatever during the summertime. She was always up on us about education. My family is a very faith-based family. My mom's side of the family was mainly Christian. They was from Garfield mainly. My dad's side, same. They was from the Hill District. My mom and dad grew up together, knowing each other. Eventually, they got married after they had me, or before. I'm not sure if it was before or after. But I know they both met up. My mom's best friend and her was interested in knowledge of self. They always wanted to know knowledge of self. That was a big thing in the 70s. I was born in the 70s, 75 to be exact. Black people at that time was searching for something. They were searching for something to grasp to. They was getting tired of Christianity. And they was noticing the faults in Christianity. So in comes the Nation of Islam. And what the Nation of Islam was teaching was Jesus was black. All the prophets was black. The Bible is about black people just as much as it is about white people. And they was telling us that the Jews meant black. It means a black person or a person that's melanated, whatever you want to say. I'm going to just say black. They ended up converting to Muslim. My mom seen how my dad went from a knucklehead to a man in a three-piece suit with a bow tie, walking around, the power that they had, and a lot of her friends too also, they was all popping pills and all that when they was younger and getting drinking and smoking weed. And it was cleaning up people, and it was taking these people and turning them into clean entrepreneurs that was making their own money. And she liked that. So they went down there to one of the temples, and they seen the kids were teaching classes. They seen the kids were starting prayer. So that intrigued my mom into joining, and also my dad. So eventually, plus a lot of her friends was joining too. So eventually she ran into my dad. That's when she seen him, and they clicked. And they ended up getting married, having me, and buying a house. Now, first they was living in Wilkinsburg. Then they went from Wilkinsburg to Homewood. That's where my family house is still to this day. That's where I was raised. So my mom was from Garfield. Garfield turned out to be Bloods. Crips and Bloods entered into the city like by the 90s. Garfield turned into Bloods. Homewood turned into Crips, and the Hill District Bloods. So that lets you know my background and my family. Yes, some of my family ended up Bloods, and some of my family ended up Crips. Me, I was more like Sharif. I listened to what my family was saying, and that's that all people should. Being around all of that, I was a knucklehead too. I would jump into a fight quick with people, but when it all boiled down to it, I was trying to bring everybody together. I always wanted us all to come together and start the revolution. Like, everybody was saying the revolution, So basically, like, in elementary school, I was always in fights, always in the in-house suspension, always getting suspended from school. So my mom was trying to figure out something to do with me. So what she did was, at first, we'll backtrack to what the school did first. The school tried to put me in the kindergarten, because they was like, you want to act like a kindergartner, you go down there with the kindergartners. So it was fun to me. We got to take naps after lunch. It wasn't no hard work that we had to do. I already knew how to count. I knew my ABCs. So what they would have me do is teach the class, help teach the class, and read stories and stuff like that. And they ended up turning it into me going around to different classes, not just kindergarten, but taking time. They'll pull me out of class, and I'll go around and I'll start reading the classes. So that's what I ended up doing. And I still was getting in trouble. There was the president of the Board of Education. He always, like, maybe once or twice a year would come through the school, and he'd be seeing, how everybody's doing, and he would talk to the problem kids that was getting in trouble and having a lot of problems. He used to always grab me out of the class, and he'd be walking around with me. He kind of reminded me of Joe Clark. He was a brother, and he was the president of the whole Board of Education. And he told me one of the times, like the last time, that if he come back and he hear that I'm getting in trouble, he got something for me. So, make a long story short, he come to the class with a box full of ice cream sandwiches, and he's gonna have a party because he would have all these cases of ice cream sandwiches. He'd take them to every class that he was dealing with that time. And I was in the middle of controlling the whole class. Now, I grew up with some guys that got held back from school. That was their thing. Don't do no work and get held back from school. But they was hilarious. And I just drew to that because they was so hilarious. And they was bigger guys, so they taught me how to fight. You know, I was getting in fights with them and different people, other people. And we all, like, back then, when you fight people, more than likely you're going to end up becoming best friends. Because y'all finally just fought so many times, you just like, you know what, man, you cool. You know, you going to become my homie. So we just all was becoming friends, and we started hanging out together. And basically, like, I got held back once with my buddy Eric. Now, Eric was funny. That's the most hilarious person that I know. But then it was Desmond. We both got held, all three of us got held back together, I mean. So, back to Dr. Vincent, we all in the same class, and it was my turn to control the class. So I'm standing up. I got my back turned to the teacher, and I'm just going. Got the class cracking up, and then they stopped. And I turned around, and Dr. Vincent right there. So he basically, back in our day, in the 80s, you could still get a whooping. You can get a whooping from the principal. So I already, by this time, got like maybe 2 whoopings from the principal. And he decided, he came with his paddle. He had one of them old school paddles. And he whooped me right in front of the class. He told me to put my hand, and Eric was in, it was wild because it was Eric's desk. And he's sitting there laughing at me the whole time while I'm getting whooped. And I'm sitting there like, oh man, you gonna get it after school. But it just ended up becoming a comedy thing that we used to laugh about all the time. And I'm just giving you an example of how school has changed, where now kids got rights. Back in my day, kids ain't have no rights. If you act up, the teacher can whoop you. The principal can whoop you. And then you'll get a whooping at home. So my mom started to see that whoopings wasn't working. So what she would do is she would go around with me, and she would try to put me in programs. So the one that I clung to was the jazz workshop, where I learned how to play the drums. And we learned about this place from our neighbor, Ernie Davis, who was one of the top tier jazz percussionists in our city. All you heard all the time was him playing on them drums. You'd be walking, you wouldn't even have to walk past his house. You could just hear him from blocks away, just playing away. And he ended up becoming my teacher. Then from there, once I got towards middle school, I auditioned for the School of the Arts. I went into middle school. Okay, so in middle school, I met a lot of cool people. Besides Eric and Desmond, in elementary school, there was Titus, there was Kedrick, there was Jamal. All of us had different belief systems, and that's about the only thing that we argue about was God. It was weird, but it was cool. You know what I'm saying? Because we all got along and took up for each other. Now, going into middle school, I met Moses, I met B-Lo, and a brother that was in the jazz workshop with me, Boyd, ended up coming into the School of the Arts. And we all got close and connected then. So in the School of the Arts, we learned a lot. I was in orchestra. I learned how to play the timpani, play different other percussions that was dealing with the orchestra. That's where I learned how to really read and write music. Mr. Yessi and Mr. Fung was my two teachers, and they were outstanding. Both of them played in the Pittsburgh Symphony, and they were outstanding teachers. Taught me a lot, but I still had a little bit of knucklehead in me. But this started teaching me how to perform and how to be on stage. My mom joined the African Arts Company. Shout out to Umoja African Arts Company, which is now Africa Yetu. I'll get into why we changed our name maybe in another video. But it taught me a lot also, and I got to see a lot. We traveled the East Coast from top to bottom. And I was raised basically by Africans also. And one Puerto Rican. But it was a good experience. My school got to see me perform in front of them. We had a deal with the city where African Arts, Black History Month, we came and we did the African Arts everywhere. We went through 30 schools or so, and we got paid great money for that. We always was getting paid. I always had money. Always had money at a young age. And I didn't really manage my money right. But, you know what I'm saying, I had it, and I used to share it with all my friends. And I just had a lot of friends all over the city and other cities also. That was when I first found out what groupies was and stuff like that too, you know. But middle school was very, very interesting and fun. Whenever we performed, we ended up being the best sounding. People was just playing scales, and we would be actually playing Mozart and playing George Gershwin and playing all these different writers, composers, while everybody else was playing the scales. You know, it just taught me a lot of how talented I can be. I started auditioning for talent shows. Never really got it accepted from the ones that were out in other places. I didn't know about the fraternal order yet, that it's not about what you know, it's who you know type stuff. So it really got to me. Depression started setting in a little bit. But what would bring me back up was whenever I did a talent show in Pittsburgh, we won. So that kept my hopes up high. But, you know, graduating from middle school, I almost cried. Brother of mine, Aaron Stewart, his brother Eric, Lamar, and I think that's it. They could sing their asses off, and they were singing It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday and singing different songs. It just make you want to cry, man. You know what I'm saying? And I really missed middle school. Those were the best years of my life, I will say, was being in middle school. It was outstanding. But I'm almost at a half hour. I'm going to try to keep each of these parts to a half hour. I guess I can go into high school for this last 7 minutes. So I get into high school. A lot of us come together. Now we a crew, we a clique. It was me, Titus, Kedrick, Jamal, Eric, Eric's best friend Tim. I didn't get a chance to talk about Tim. Excuse me, Tim. But shout out to Tim. B-Lo, Moses, and did Boy go? I can't remember. Jamal. There was a lot of us, you know, and then there was some that added on. Dashif, Hezekiah, Shalak, Quay, R.I.P. Quay. And R.I.P. to Jamal too also. Those are some of our fallen soldiers. And we just was a crew that didn't claim no set, because gangs were starting to come in around that time. I actually got jumped that year coming into 9th grade. I got jumped about my cousin because these guys was bullying my cousin, and I told them don't even worry about them. I used to chase them home in elementary school, which I really did. I chased them home one day, and it's 2 of them, mind you. I chased both of them home, but about 9 of them jumped me. They didn't really hurt me, you know what I'm saying? I was agile. I was moving out the way on most of the hits. I got out this little, they had me squished in, had a circle around me, and they was trying to kick me and punch me. And it wasn't really that good of a jump, but I made it out, and we had a couple confrontations where we came across a couple of them, me and Titus, and Titus beat up one of them in one of the altercations. One altercation, they didn't even want to fight, but that was the first time I ever seen a gun, where somebody had a gun and was like, You know, don't play, bro. Like, you know, in other words, let us whoop you up, let us beat you up. And I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna let that happen. So we got into high school. I calmed down. I was more into music now. I wanted to rap. I wanted to use my skills. And instead of playing football, which was one of my favorite sports, we always played football too, man. About like this street against that street. And we ended up playing football, or wanting to play football. And when we got down there, I was like, wow, there was some 300-pound dudes, 200-pound. I was like maybe 130 at the time, 120. I was like, nah, I think I'm going to stick to playing the drums. I'm going to go over here with the band. And I joined the band. I was in the music band. I played bass drum, snare drum, trips, quads. I played all that. We were the only school that had 2 reggae cadences. That's what made us different than everybody else, because Moses was in there with me. Another brother, Jonathan, was in there. Lil J. And Lil J went to middle school with us also. And basically we composed 6 outstanding songs in band camp. And 2 was reggae, to whereas people was trying to steal our beat. The one beat that we come into was outstanding. I wish we had this social media back then. I'd probably be as big as Casanat or somebody, because our stuff was all original and it was outstanding. Still to this day, people play our cadences at these schools. That one reggae cadence got us in a band fight. And I'm going to end it with this band fight where they kept on playing our cadence, and I got tired of it. So, you know, I ran over to the bus. Well, first we told them not to play it no more. And they came over, they came out to do their halftime show. And their mascot came running over and doing his little dances to our reggae thing. And we jumped out there and we jumped in. It wasn't a serious jump, but we jumped on him. We slammed him on the ground. We started doing the little wrestling moves, you know, jumping off stuff and landing on him. And then when the end of the thing came, I was like, Mo, come on, man, you know what we're about to do. So we go over to the yellow bus. We was like, come on out, you know, we told y'all not to play our music no more. And it was like, whatever. So one dude had his head out the window. I jumped up on the wheel and I punched him in his face. Then we went around to the back of the bus and we started pulling all their drums off of the bus and throwing them down on the ground to get up to them. And thank goodness they had one brother, I can't remember his name right now. This was so long ago. 30 plus years ago, so I really can't remember his name right now, but he went to our school, then he transferred over to that school. And I think he's half of the reason why they got our cadence so good. But he stopped us from fighting. We got in a little bit of trouble, not a lot. And we weren't playing with them guys. But this is going to be the first part to the road to Raising 2. I'm your host, Humbled Up. And y'all like, share, and subscribe to Humbled Up TV television. Please. It's my first time doing this, so there's gonna be some mess ups. There's gonna be some cutouts, because I'm gonna always probably do this in public. So y'all just bear with me till I get the studio right. Peace.